Good evening to all. You are on the Soul Seek Journal, and it's beautiful outside. I'm not pointing the camera at my face because I don't think there's any point. I think it's uh, it's in the middle of the night. It's like 2:30 a.m. and yeah, it's gonna be one of the first videos for the Soul Seek Journal. So if you clicked on the video will be titled more or less a 40-year-old YouTuber ponders life's most deepest questions, or however I will end up wording it. But what is the Soul Seek Journal? So the Soul Seek Journal it's selfish in a lot of ways, meaning this is self digging and self exploration and self therapy for myself. But I also want this project, if you will, this channel, to be for all of us. First of all, I want this project, so to speak, to remind everyone that you have your own story to tell, that all of our stories has a place in the world of telling stories. I won't be editing these videos and doing all that crazy stuff. As far as YouTube goes, or any sort of social media nowadays, I think we're gaining back the value for these sort of videos. I don't want to just call it content. You can call it content, because obviously AI is taking over. It's everywhere, and I'm actually happy to see that we collectively were given pushback by making these sort of videos. I seen one guy called his channel like a 30-year-old YouTuber or something, and he basically just fills himself going to work and working at a fast food place and making content or whatever. And the channel blew up, and I'm happy for that kind of stuff, because again, I'm seeing that we are collectively giving pushback against everything becoming artificial intelligence, to the point where we won't know what's real anymore. It's really hard to know what's real this day and age. We're not really, well, I guess the generation 30 and plus, we have still had an experience of playing outside and not being glued to TV screens or to computer screens. And I'm seeing kids nowadays. I have a niece, she's 18, and they're smart kids, but the thing is that I see that they're extremely jaded, and I'm realizing it's because their brain is constantly wired and bombarded with social media, and so they end up being glued to everything digital, to everything that's not real per se, because we're gonna explore what real means and what's good and bad and all of these things. That's why I started this channel. So and I think it's gonna be getting even harder for the generations to come to grasp on what reality is. I think the concept of reality itself is changing right before our eyes, and the question of what is real, and does it matter if I go out for a walk in the forest, or I put on these glasses at home, and it gives me a virtual experience of being out in the woods. And I'm pretty sure soon enough we're gonna get to a point where AI and simulation has become so advanced that you'll be able to have the smell and possibly the taste and so on and so forth. So not to stray off, that way, which I'm pretty sure we will explore more. I wanted to come back to what this this channel is, and again, it's self-exploration. It's the value of our human experience being documented, being passed down to generations, and for the coming generations to find some sort of value in it, and some sort of lessons, obviously, that we want to leave for them, while all of us out there, no matter your age, no matter what your background is, it's a way to really seek and to really try to find, what is a soul? Do we have a soul? What does it mean being conscious? And again, like, I have other projects online, and other projects that deeply explore different philosophical things, and spiritual things, and even geopolitical stuff. But on this channel, I want it to be completely bare, completely naked. And no, I don't mean I'm gonna show you my butt cheeks. I mean emotionally and mentally, just being completely bare, and to kind of go back to ground zero of just simply by telling our stories, exploring what is a soul, what is a consciousness, what is life, what is death, and then going back down to some simple things that may not be that simple, that may not turn out to be that simple, such things as YouTube and content creating and those sort of things. And again, it's 2:30 in the morning. It's foggy. The weather, the Google weather said it's very foggy, but it's not that foggy. I've seen it worse. Pretty sure you guys have also. But I always loved the mystique of a fog. And if you're gonna ask me, like, yo bro, why are you out here 2:30 in the morning walking around? I've always been a night person, and we're gonna explore that too. And no matter what I tried, I could never become a day person. And so the Soul Seek Journal is a journey of someone that went from rags to riches, back down to rags. Someone that has witnessed the fall of empires, from the Soviet Union to the rise of a new country, to being an immigrant, to being an athlete, to being addicted to drugs, to heartbreak, and then love, and again we come back to life and death. And that's what I want to talk about today. I told this story before, but it will be for the first time, I guess, on this channel, that my journey into any sort of exploration of anything life related, let's say, right? And quick note, someone said, and they were right, that life should be lived and not explored. But again, I think at the age we're living in, and at the transformation that we're seeing with artificial intelligence and simulations and so on and so forth, computer simulations, I think it's important to start documenting our real experiences. And so, going back to my story, I was 5 years old when it seemed like at 5, I always heard or seen someone dying. And then I'll never forget it. One morning I woke up and my sister tells me that my uncle died, and he was a young guy, 33 years old. I loved him dearly. He's a super nice, creative, beautiful human being. And so my memory, you know, feeds me, you know, I don't know if it's a false memory, or maybe that's the way I painted it for myself. But basically, I remember hearing the bad news, going outside, and it seemed like time froze again. Maybe I'm painting that for myself that way, and time froze, and that's when I started asking myself internally, like, wait, well, what is death? Like, where did my uncle go? um and so that started the journey. And I know a lot of you will be like, damn, 5 years old, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're bugging out, man. Like, why would a 5-year-old be asking themselves anything like that? And I just, not to say that I was like a special 5-year-old or like a prodigy or whatever, but at that time, living in the falling Soviet Union, about to transition into independent Ukraine, you know, we grew up, we were raised very differently. Like, at 5 years old, we were extremely independent. We were outside all day long. Obviously, there was no phones, no nothing. At those days, you know, you would walk yourself to school, and you would go outside for the whole entire day. Your parents wouldn't know where you are. So I'm just saying to say that, you know, we were really independent. But obviously, again, like a regular 5-year-old, even in those days, I guess, you know, wasn't asking themselves, I guess, these questions. Or maybe they were, I don't know. But on top of that, on top of the question of death, I remember like being with my friends, and looking at my friends, and then looking back at my body, and asking myself, like, well, hold on, like, this is me, and I'm in this body. Like, why am I in this body and not in that body? Like, just these I guess these weird questions. And I don't want to go further and, you know, tell you the story of that spiritual journey that started at 5, but I do want to come back to the point of death. And I think, you know, that question of death, or witnessing someone dying, or hearing someone that you knew dying, I think it always has a drastic impact on us. I think that's the moment when, you know, we start to really ponder, to really ask, you know, to question our own mortality.